Some survival patterns are invisible. You didn't choose them, they were handed down, taught, or learned before you could understand. But they still shape how you move through the world. And sometimes you only notice them when they start sabotaging the things you want the most: connection, love, safety, or, your dignity. Welcome back to The Void and the Flame. I'm Rachel, or Ray. Nobody special, just a human who's lived through some shit like most of you. And I want to show you what that can feel like, sound like, and sometimes what that can look like from a different perspective. Now, we all carry blueprints, patterns, survival strategies, ways of being that were handed down, taught, or written before we had any input. Some of those blueprints help us, some of them hold us back, and sometimes we don't even notice they're running in the background at all. When we can call these patterns out, that's when we start to take our power back. Maybe it'll help you see your own internal blueprints, those scripts written long ago. And maybe we'll laugh, maybe we'll cry. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a little of both. Or maybe you'll just make a very dramatic eye roll at your past self, like I find myself doing quite often. Let me paint you a picture of what my pattern of freeze, fawn, and dissociation looked like in a relationship I had once. A feeling that I had relived a few times throughout our time together, but couldn't name it in those moments. I'm sitting in my car, gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles are white. My phone's still in my other hand from reading a text. Just a few words, but somehow they hollowed me out from the inside. My chest felt like it was going to explode, and my heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. My thoughts were spinning, and the air felt heavier than it should. I don't cry right away, because this kind of hurt isn't sharp. It's slow. It seeps in like water through cracks you didn't even know were there. And I replayed every conversation, every smile, every little breadcrumb he left for me, just trying to find the place where it all shifted. And here's the hardest part to admit. It wasn't always bad. There were moments where I felt seen, where I thought maybe I mattered in ways that I had never before. But the same hands that lifted me up could just as easily pull the ground out from underneath me. And I learned to measure my worth and how close I could get to his approval without falling off the edge. Notice, though, that these moments weren't just about him. They were about the blueprints running through me, telling me how to respond, how to survive, long before I even realized it. You can also notice my dramatic inner monologue at the time, where I was just saying to myself, well, this is going to go great. Definitely didn't need that spine. And then there was this one time early in the relationship. I had spent about an hour preparing all of my tattoo supplies because he had asked me to come over and give him a tattoo. Something intimate, something I thought would help bring us closer. But when I arrived, I realized I had forgotten the paper towels, and I had told him I'd run to the store. And that's when everything started to shift. Suddenly, he wanted to change plans, to go downtown, grab drinks, maybe party. And there I was, in galaxy leggings and an old hoodie, completely unprepared and very much not in party mode. And it wasn't just the sudden change that had set off my anxiety. He had told me he was sober, except for, the previous weekend where we had went and hung out with one of his childhood best friends for their birthday party, and he had indulged. He promised, though, that it was a one-time thing. So when it was brought up again, my intuition started to ping. And I just remember telling myself, uh-oh, this might not end well. My chest tightened, my stomach flipped, and looking back, this little shift, it was the very start of a spiral. My body had been tensed, and my throat was tight, and inside I began to shut down, just trying to protect myself from the chaos I didn't want to be a part of. And for a moment, I tried to go along with it. And then something inside me broke through the fog. And with a very shaky, barely audible voice, I had told him I wasn't comfortable, and I had asked him to take me back to my car. He did, and then he left. Imagine standing up for what you need, even if your voice shakes. Notice that's a pretty powerful step. That night, my freeze response kicked in full force. My limbs felt heavy, like I was sinking. My breath caught in my chest, and my mind spun in circles, caught between fight, flight, and shutdown. If you've ever experienced that kind of body split, it can feel like your mind's telling you to run, but your feet feel glued to the ground. Or maybe for you, freeze looks like silence when you want to scream, or numbness when you want to feel. Or it could just look like staring at your snacks, silently judging them for existing. This man came into my life just after a brief, relatively unfulfilling relationship, one that didn't feel real, more like a placeholder after 10 years of being single. And from the start, our conversation sparked something inside me. His humor was dark and twisted, the kind that hints at hidden pain. He was smart, magnetic, spiritual, active in self-improvement and accountability. Everything that I had admired and was looking for. But he wasn't over his ex, and he told stories of manipulation and gaslighting by her and others, and that probably should have been a red flag for me. But I guess I didn't care. Fawn mode activated, giving, bending, hoping it would work out. I was hanging my hat on his potential, and probably stepping on a few toes in my imaginary circus of chaos. I wanted to believe in him, to feel seen, to be wanted, so I fawned, giving and giving, just trying to hold us together. And my inner commentary probably went something along the lines of, look at me, professional contortionist of emotional labor, gold medalist in bending over backwards. What an accomplishment. Have you ever leaned too hard into someone else's needs? Have you noticed fawning showing up in your life, whether it's subtle or obvious? Now, before we dive deeper into the rest of my story and how dissociation played out, let's pause for a beat. Maybe make a ridiculous face in the mirror. Take a breath. Remember that even in heavy moments, there's room for light, for humor, and for a little reset. Now, the breaking point in our relationship came with a conversation about mothers' names. It had occurred between him and a close friend of mine. At first, it seemed innocent, but when I brought up that they'd already had that conversation before, he ended up going quiet on me. He had told me later that he felt that I had said it to him in a way that scolded him like a little child. I had talked about that with my friend to ask them if I did do that, because I didn't remember coming off that way, and if that was the case, that wasn't my intention and I didn't mean for it to be portrayed that way. They had stated that they didn't remember it going down that way, but it was something that he did. So he talked about it a little bit on the way home that night, maybe a little bit the next day, but 2 days later, my phone rang at 5 a.m. I answered to him unleashing everything he felt about that on me, accusing me of manipulating memories, gaslighting, and trying to control both him and my friends' minds, using my own knowledge of hypnosis to justify his case. I mean, duh, I learned how to hypnotize people to lose weight and quit smoking. Mind control and memory manipulation? That was totally part of the 8-month curriculum at the weight loss clinic. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it is a good point to notice and to remember that perception is reality, and how I might perceive something could be completely different for how somebody else could perceive it. So, as this was happening, my heart was slamming into my chest. It was hard to breathe in those moments because my body was flooded with adrenaline and fear. Like, what is happening? Why is this happening? Where is this coming from? This man had stewed on his feelings towards my comment for 2 days, 48 hours before completely blowing up on me. And for the first time, my nervous system screamed. This was not okay. It was like my intuition was knocking at my door saying, "Me again, bitch? Are you finally ready to listen?" That morning, something inside me shifted. I had finally been able to hear my own truth. And the truth is that I didn't deserve this. It's really amazing what a little bit of self-love and self-belief can do for a person. All those times that he had poked at my wounds, twisted my trauma into weapons, it wasn't love, it was control. He talked about self-improvement and accountability, but I was the one growing, changing, healing. I mean, that seems a bit hypocritical if you ask me, basically telling someone, "Ew, you really need to fix that," while sinking deeper into a pit of delusion and projection. He was sinking into addiction, manipulation, the very patterns that he had claimed to overcome. Have you ever had that moment when your body just says enough? When your heart pounds out a warning that you can't ignore anymore? You might notice what that feels like for you. Or maybe your body just says enough while you're still sitting in pajamas eating cereal, because that is also valid. So when your nervous system is triggered, I want you to try something. Try naming that feeling out loud. This is fear. This is pain. This is my body protecting me. Then take a grounding breath. I know, I'm asking you to breathe again, but just try it out. In for 4. Hold for 4. And then out for 6. You might notice that naming helps you gain power over the feeling. Now, what would it mean for you to say, "I don't deserve this," out loud today? That man put every piece of my past pain and trauma under a microscope, weaponizing it whenever he could. And I handed him every bit of ammo. I had never been that open with anyone in my life, never been that receptive to the suggested changes or letting somebody call me out in those ways and really trying to bring things that maybe I wasn't seeing to the surface. But talk about some fuel that ended up being utilized for an absolute chaos bonfire. He tried to play the expert in self-improvement, knew all the fancy pop psychology terms, very convincing, very theatrical. I wonder if that's why he was trying to change me, because I remember him constantly commenting about how spending time with me was nice because it didn't feel performative like it had felt with some people he was with in the past. But yet somehow I feel like that threatened him. I'm not sure. What I do know, though, is that I was the one actually actively trying to do the work, trying to change, trying to take into account some of the things that he had said to me and work towards them. Now, some days I still think about him. I miss parts of what we shared, the laughs, the quiet moments, the rare calm when it felt like just the two of us. I miss the warmth that he provided, the forehead kisses he gave freely. There was a lot to miss. It's funny. People will ask, well, if it was so bad, why did you stay? And I kind of touched on this earlier in this episode, because I get it. It's one thing I used to ask myself also, or other people I would see going through it. But here's the thing, it wasn't always bad. There were moments, rare but so profound, when my whole nervous system just exhaled. Like the night he had taken me to the symphony. I had never been to the symphony before. I wasn't sure what to expect. All I knew is we were dressed up, we looked nice, and here I was at the symphony for the first time. And my entire nervous system completely relaxed. I was so relaxed that I couldn't keep my eyes open. And it was definitely not because I was bored, not at all, but because for the first time in a long time, I actually felt safe enough in someone else's energy to be able to shut down. And this person had told me that I was easy to love, that I had made it easy for them to care for me. And in those moments, the highs were intoxicating. Feeling seen, understood, cherished, so powerful. I mean, I didn't want to look away because I wasn't sure if I was going to ever feel that again. But then, those lows, feeling wrong about everything, doubting myself time and time again, questioning my own reality. I remember saying to him at one point, I get that you're trying to show me things about myself that I may not see, but the way you do it, it hurts. It makes me want to shut down and not open up to you anymore. And yeah, apologies were made, recognition happened, and for a moment, things felt better. But then the pattern repeated. Chaos returned. Nervous system fired. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all on high alert. I stayed because I believed in who he could be. Because I thought love meant holding on long enough for someone to grow. Because I saw potential more clearly than I saw my own pain. But here's what I've learned, and trust me, I feel like this is huge. Your nervous system knows the truth long before your mind catches up. Those moments of calm, they told me what I longed for. And those moments of chaos, they told me what it was still costing me. And in the end, the cost was too high. I couldn't keep betraying myself for someone else's potential. And the saddest part of it all is that if he had just adjusted a couple things to show me that we were really in this together, and that all the times that he had said he was going to change, that things were going to change, that he actually meant it, I probably would have stayed. I would have kept trying. But that's not what was happening. So maybe you've stayed longer than you wanted, because the good moments were real, because you hoped they'd last, because you believed love was enough. What was it that kept you holding on? And just as important, what was your body trying to tell you all along? Now I want to take a moment and provide you with a journaling prompt for the week. You can choose to participate or not, but the prompt this week is, what moments of calm or connection have kept you in a situation that wasn't truly right for you? And what did your nervous system know before your mind was ready to admit it? Here's something I've realized. Something I wish I had understood sooner. Open, honest communication with the people you love is everything. It opens doors to perspectives you didn't have before, doors to truths you couldn't see on your own. And sometimes we make assumptions, we spin stories in our heads. And those stories can be biased because we don't have all the information. Hard conversations, they are invaluable. People can't fix what they don't know. And if someone shows that they have no interest in changing, that's data. That's information that you can use to help you make the best decision for yourself in your life. The takeaway: think before jumping to conclusions. Ask questions. Seek understanding. Honor your experience, but honor the process of gathering truth before you act. Your clarity, that's your power. So this is the push-pull of trauma bonds. The highs of connection, the lows of activation, the fawn, the freeze, the fight responses. All mechanisms that keep us stuck when we care, when we hope, and when we love. It's hard to leave someone you love, even when the relationship is harmful. But that doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Sometimes I catch myself and ask, how much of the magic in that relationship was him? And how much of that was me? Missing him is weirdly funny sometimes. I mean, the guy was kind of walking chaos. And here I am nostalgic about a few sunny breaks in the hurricane. Pretty classic human brain, I think. But the freeing part? If the best moments and the most magic were coming from me, then I can carry that warmth, that care, that spark into other relationships without the emotional tornado attached. Basically, I've been carrying my own sun all along. I just need to remember to stop letting someone else throw shade over it. Now, his downward spiral into addiction and control became a battlefield that I fought every day, tiptoeing around what might set him off, questioning my every word, my every move. This was a pattern that I unfortunately knew all too well from previous relationships. I mean, heck, it kept me single for a whole decade. And moments like these made me want to tell my past self, dude, you should have known better. But nope, I still got hung up on the potential. And I would start to dissociate, flowing away from the chaos in those crazy moments to protect myself. I'm safe up here in my own little world, right? Or just like an ostrich burying its head so deep in the sand, you wonder how it could even breathe. I mean, if I can't see you, then you can't see me. I mean, these are the things that we tell ourselves to survive, at least. Have you ever felt your mind check out when the emotional heat gets too intense? Kind of like you're sitting at your desk at work and you just slowly start to slink down in your chair until you just completely dissolve into that dark abyss below. Well, if you ever do, maybe consider trying this little tool out. As you're feeling this dissociation start to come up, try naming 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 that you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 that you can taste. This brings you back gently without overwhelm. And with every sense you name, you become more present, more yourself. What senses help you come back to yourself when these things just kind of feel too much, too heavy? I know me personally, when I smell some donuts or baked goods, I can snap out of it pretty quickly. Anyone else? No? Just me? All right, moving on. So this relationship was a painful mirror. It was showing me where my boundaries were weak, where my trauma still held power, and where I was still beating myself up instead of directing that energy at its source. It also reminded me where I had forgotten to stand up for myself. I've spent my life carrying heaviness, learning to move through it without being crushed. That weight has shaped me, but it doesn't define me. What I've learned is how to balance the heavy with the weightless, the dark with the light, And that balance allows me to be present, to witness, and to choose. When I share this with you, it's not just my story. It's a tool. It's a way to show that patterns we survive, the heaviness we carry, can be recognized, processed, and transformed. You don't have to be crushed by it. You can move through it, and in doing so, you create space for light, clarity, and choice. Now, if you're listening and feel that familiar ache, that longing to be seen, loved, without losing yourself, I see you. Your freeze, your fawn, your dissociation, these aren't flaws. They're survival tools, doing their best to keep you safe, even if they go about it in a pretty weird and twisted way sometimes. But change isn't about perfection. It's about noticing these patterns and giving yourself permission to respond differently. And maybe finally put a stop to being your own worst bully. And maybe that means breathing deeply. Maybe it means saying no, naming what you feel in real time, noticing that healing is already happening, one small baby step at a time. And also not beating yourself up for thinking a pint of Ben & Jerry's counts as dinner. Been there more times than I care to admit. You know, part of the work that I've done over the years, this quiet, messy internal work, it's learning to stand steady in myself. I've learned how to weather storms alone, how to recharge, how to face my own shadows without running. And because of that, when I love someone now, I love out of choice. I choose them. I don't need them to fill a void or to make me whole. But here's the thing. Just because I love consciously doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Vulnerability isn't optional in real love. Opening your heart fully, giving your care and attention, it leaves you exposed. That's the paradox, though. The very thing that makes love powerful and alive is the same thing that can bring you pain. And maybe that's the lesson, that choosing consciously, loving intentionally, and holding your boundaries don't make life safe. It makes it authentic. It makes it yours. And maybe that's the kind of love that we're all really searching for. The kind that asks us to be present, awake, and fully human while we give it. And you might be wondering, what does this have to do with survival patterns, freeze, fawn, and dissociation? Well, it has everything to do with it. How we love, how we let people in, how we protect ourselves emotionally, all of that is shaped by the ways we survived earlier in life. Now, right now, I want you to just take a moment. Take a moment and ask yourself, where in my life am I freezing, fawning, or dissociating? And what's one small step I can take today to honor my feelings and boundaries? You don't have to do it all at once. Just notice, just breathe. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. You can consider me your crazy sidekick along the way. Well, that's it for today's episode. I appreciate you showing up for yourself and doing this hard work. You really should be very proud because it's not an easy choice to make. Don't forget to subscribe, and if this episode resonated with you, please consider leaving me a review or sharing it with somebody who might need it. And if you want to connect or share your story, my DMs are always open. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok. I will share all of those details in the show notes. Remember, your fire is yours to tend, and no matter the patterns that you've carried, you can choose how to show up in your life and your love. Keep the fire lit.